Welcome to another quiet journey into the distant past. Tonight, you will be taken slowly, gently, into the world of ancient Rome. But rather than marching with legions or standing in marble forums, you will find yourself in a softer, humbler place. You will be guided into the baths of Rome, not as an emperor, nor as a senator, but as one of the quiet attendants, the overlooked hands who kept the warm waters flowing. Imagine yourself settling down as the city outside begins to stir. You are safe here. This is not a story of battles or politics. This is the steady rhythm of daily life, the heat of the fire, the shimmer of steam, the echo of voices along stone walls. As you listen, allow the images to come slowly. Let the details, the smells of wood smoke, the damp coolness of tile, drift through your mind. And if sleep comes, let it come naturally. You will not miss the story, for it flows like a river, calm and repeating, timeless and unhurried. So now, let us step softly into scene one. Imagine the soft gray of early dawn. The streets of Rome are still cool, shaded by tall stone walls. You are one of several attendants who live in a small chamber near the bathhouse. The chamber is simple wooden cots, a single clay lamp, the faint smell of smoke from the hearth below. You rise quietly before the patrons awaken. The first task is always the fire. Down below, great furnaces wait, their stone mouths empty, their iron grates black with soot. You bend, stacking wood oak and pine, the bark still damp with morning dew. The sound is gentle, the crack of wood, the whisper of splinters, the shuffle of sandals on stone. When the flame catches, you feel its warmth against your face. It grows slowly, licking along the logs, until the first coils of smoke twist upward through vents and channels. These fires are not just for heat, they are the heart of the baths. They warm the hypocaust beneath the floors, sending soft currents of warmth through the stone, filling the caldarium, the hot chamber, with its heavy, moist breath. As you tend the flames, you notice the rhythm of the work, the scraping of an iron shovel, the hush of water carried in clay jars, the low hum of voices as other attendants begin their duties. You sweep the mosaic floors, brushing away sand and ash left from yesterday. Your bare feet touch the cool tesserae, smooth under years of footsteps. The colors glimmer faintly, blues, reds, and golds, forming patterns of dolphins and vines. You pause, noticing how the torchlight makes the mosaics shimmer as if alive. The air thickens with scents, burning resinous pine, damp stone, and faint traces of oil left behind by bathers. In the storeroom, amphorae of olive oil and baskets of herbs wait for use. Some attendants rub the oil into cloths, preparing to massage weary patrons. Others fold linens, rough to the touch, smelling faintly of sun and soap from their washing. The morning grows brighter. You hear the city stirring, outside vendors calling softly, donkeys clattering over cobblestones. But here, within the walls of the bath, the rhythm is slower. The first patrons will come later, after the fires have spread their heat. For now, it is a time of quiet preparation. You carry buckets of water. The clay presses against your palm, rough and cool. You pour slowly, hearing the water splash against stone basins. Each drop echoes in the chamber, blending with the low hiss of fire and the creak of wooden beams. There is a rhythm to it all. Sweep, fetch, pour, fold, polish, tend. It repeats each morning and each evening, as steady as the rising and setting of the sun. You glance around at your fellow attendants. Some are young boys, newly apprenticed. Others are older, their hands rough from years of steam and work. Together you form a quiet fraternity, bound not by wealth or power, but by the endless pulse of the baths. Hours pass, yet time feels unmeasured. The heat rises, the air grows heavier with steam. Your skin glistens, damp with sweat and mist. The lamps glow faintly, their flames flickering against walls blackened by smoke. You hear the faint murmur of voices, now patrons arriving, sandals clicking against the floor. The day has begun, and so the rhythm continues. Day after day, year after year, the attendants remain unseen, yet their work shapes the comfort of the empire. Through the warmth of fire, the smoothness of oil, the steady hand with a towel or brush, this is your world. This is your rhythm. The rhythm of the Roman baths. Imagine, now, that among the many attendants of Rome's grand bathhouses, one man's story drifts softly into focus. His name is Marcus, not a man of renown, not a senator, not a general, just Marcus, an attendant who spends his life in the shadows of marble columns and clouds of steam. Marcus was born in the outskirts of Rome, near the river Tiber. His family lived in a modest insula, a multi-storied apartment of wood and stone. The walls were thin, the rooms small, the smell of cooking fires and damp plaster lingering always. As a boy, Marcus would watch men carry baskets of grain, jars of oil, amphorae of wine through the busy streets. The rhythm of trade and labor was all he knew. When he was young, his father secured him a place as a helper in the baths. It was considered steady work, if not glamorous. And so Marcus grew up in the rhythm of stone and water, fire and steam. He learned how to coax the fires into steady heat, how to sweep mosaics until they shone, how to carry water without spilling, how to fold linens in neat squares. The years passed, and Marcus remained. The emperors changed one after another. Sometimes the city stirred with rumors. An emperor fallen, another crowned, whispers of unrest in distant provinces. But for Marcus, the rhythm of life hardly shifted. Each dawn he lit the furnaces. Each evening he damped the fires. The empire rose and trembled, and yet the baths continued, constant as breath. Imagine Marcus standing in the corner of a grand chamber, towel folded over his arm. Steam curls upward. Patrons laugh quietly, discussing poetry, trade, or politics. He hears words of Cicero, of Virgil, of victories on distant frontiers. The voices rise and fall like waves, but Marcus listens without judgment. He knows his place is not among senators, but among fellow attendants. And still, he absorbs the rhythm of speech, the gentle pulse of Roman life flowing all around him. Over time, Marcus begins to see the baths not only as his work, but as the shape of his existence. He notices how patrons return again and again, how old men shuffle with canes into the tepidarium, how youths laugh and splash in the cold plunge. He observes families, merchants, freedmen, even slaves, leaving traces of their lives in steam and water. To Marcus, the bathhouse is a living city within walls, and he, its quiet caretaker. There are moments of hardship too, though they come softly, without drama. The work is heavy. His hands crack with heat. His shoulders ache with carrying jars. His lungs sometimes sting with smoke. Yet, Marcus accepts this as the rhythm of his lot. He finds small comforts, the shared laughter of fellow attendants during rest, the smell of fresh laurel leaves thrown into the fire, the cool relief of a splash of water across his brow. As the years stretch on, Marcus's hair begins to silver. He becomes one of the older attendants, respected quietly by the younger boys. They watch how he tends the fires, how he balances the weight of water jars, how he speaks softly to patrons, never hurried, never loud. To them, Marcus embodies patience. To Marcus, it is simply survival, moving with the rhythm of the baths, never against it. Occasionally, history brushes close. One evening, soldiers enter the baths, whispering of wars in distant lands. Another day, a senator bathes, while murmuring of a new emperor crowned after sudden death. Marcus listens, but the words feel far away. The empire shifts above him like clouds, yet he remains grounded, his tasks unchanging. Imagine now, Marcus, at the end of a long day. The patrons have gone, the floors are slick with water, the lamps burn low. He sits on a wooden stool, muscles weary, hands rough with work. The chamber is nearly silent. Only the last drips of water fall from the ceiling, echoing into the quiet. He exhales slowly, and in that moment, Marcus feels the weight of time itself, and he remains, too, as their keeper. For Marcus, there is no glory, no marble statue, no inscription carved in his name. But there is a life lived in rhythm, a life of fire and water, of stone and steam. His story drifts softly, like vapor in the caldarium scene for a moment, then gone. Yet in that fleeting presence, there is quiet dignity. And so, in the shadow of empire, Marcus continues. A man not remembered in books, yet woven into the daily fabric of Rome itself. The rhythm of his days carries on, gentle, steady, like the soft murmur of water flowing endlessly over stone. Close your eyes and imagine the bathhouse not simply as stone, fire, and water, but as a living space of culture. The baths were more than cleansing. They were the heartbeat of Roman society, a place where all layers of life mingled. Step in your mind into the tepidarium. The chamber is warm, pleasantly so. Light filters through high windows, falling in soft rectangles across damp walls. Patrons sit quietly on stone benches, some speaking softly, others lost in thought. The sound is steady water dripping, sandals shuffling, a low hum of conversation. For the Romans, bathing was ritual as much as necessity. They moved in sequence. First the appetiterium, the changing room, then into the warm tepidarium, the hot caldarium, and finally the frigidarium, where cold water shocked the skin awake. It was a rhythm of heat and chill, of cleansing and renewal. Attendants guided this flow, unseen but essential, directing bodies through the cycle of stone and steam. In the caldarium, imagine the thick haze of vapor. It clings to your skin, fills your lungs with warmth, softens your muscles. The marble benches glow faintly, slick with condensation. Here, oils were rubbed into the skin, then scraped away with Strigel's curved bronze tools, leaving the body cleansed and gleaming. The scent was strong olive oil mixed with herbs, perhaps rosemary or myrtle, sometimes even exotic perfumes brought from distant provinces, and in this mist secrets passed, not shouted, never dramatic, just quiet words exchanged between senators and merchants, soldiers and scribes. Politics, philosophy, trade agreements, even whispers of scandalol drifted here, softened by the warmth. An attendant like Marcus would hear fragments, but never repeat them. The baths were public, yet curiously private, where voices blurred with the echo of dripping water. Archaeology gives us traces of these lives. Coins slipped from robes, found centuries later in drains, carved inscriptions on walls, small graffiti, names etched in play or memory. Even pieces of jewelry, lost in the steam, buried in sediment until uncovered by modern hands. Each object tells a story of presence. Someone stood here, laughed here, bathed here. The baths preserved not just bodies, but the echoes of daily existence. Consider the sounds. The splash of the frigidarium pool, sudden and sharp. The deep crackle of fires beneath the hypocaust, unseen but felt. The hollow ring of a strigil dropped on stone. The murmur of philosophers debating in corners, their words floating upward with the steam. The baths were not noisy, but layered with quiet textures of sound, each one part of the rhythm. And then there were rituals of body. Patrons massaged with oils, scraped clean, perfumed with gentle scents, hair trimmed, nails cleaned, skin softened by steam. It was a cycle of care, simple yet profound, repeated endlessly. For some, this was daily routine. For others, a rare luxury, savored when coin allowed. Imagine now, walking slowly through the amphitheatrium, robes hang on wooden pegs, sandals stacked on benches. Slaves stand nearby, guarding clothing, waiting silently. Children giggle as they chase each other, their laughter echoing against the walls. An old man sighs as he lowers himself onto a bench, stretching weary limbs. This space is alive with humanity, rich and poor, young and old, side by side, yet mystery lingers. What secrets dissolved forever in the steam? What alliances were formed with a nod? What decisions made between sips of wine after a bath? The answers are gone, carried away like mist in the morning sun. But in the silence of ruins today, one can almost imagine them: soft voices, the warmth of bodies, the timeless cloud of vapor. And so the baths were not only cleansing of the skin, they were cleansing of the mind. A place where burdens lifted with the steam, where the weight of the city seemed lighter. The baths held both the physical and the unseen, and even now, standing among their ruins, one can feel a trace of that rhythm, the whispers in the steam. The secrets of Rome's daily life. In the grand caldarium, the air thickens with warmth. Steam rises in soft clouds, dimming the outlines of polished marble and gilded mosaics. Here, the wealthy patrons recline, their forms stretched across benches of stone, warmed by the furnace below. Their movements are unhurried, their words drawn out like the sigh of hot air escaping from a crack in the walls. The attendants, silent as shadows, move among them, refilling bronze basins, scattering aromatic oils, adjusting cushions with the precision of invisible hands. The difference between the elite and the servant is drawn not in words, but in gestures. The wealthy tilt their heads slightly, and a towel appears. A finger rests lightly on the air, and water is poured. The hum of conversation drifts lazily through the room, circling back on itself like steam curling against the ceiling vaults. Politics, trade, family, matters, yet all spoken with the same rhythm, as if even power and ambition are slowed by the heat of the baths. Sometimes the wealthy patrons speak of the empire as though it were theirs to rearrange. They gossip about generals returning from the front, about grain shipments delayed by storms, about gladiators whose victories they wager upon. An attendant, moving silently, might catch fragments of these words, but never the whole. It is like listening to music, muffled by a wall notes reaching the ear without meaning. For the bath attendant, these conversations float past like drifting smoke, reminders of a world both near and far. The luxurious habits of the wealthy extend even into the smallest rituals. Their oils are mixed with rare resins imported from Arabia, their towels embroidered with threads of gold. Some enter with slaves bearing baskets of fruit, figs, grapes, honey-soaked cakes, set discreetly beside them. Between dips in the pool, they nibble, their hands glistening with oil, their laughter rising in bursts before dissolving into the murmuring atmosphere. To an attendant, these details form a living tapestry, each patron wrapped in comfort, each gesture a reminder of privilege carved into routine. There are moments of stillness when the wealthy drift into silence, their eyes half closed, as if meditating. In these pauses, the baths become timeless. The flicker of torches against whetstone seems eternal. The slow drip of water from a crack echoes into infinity. The attendant moves softly, adjusting a cushion, brushing a drop of oil from the floor, always careful never to disturb the fragile balance of luxury. It is in this silence that the divide is most felt. The patrons inhabiting a world of leisure, the attendants existing only in motion, only in service. At times, laughter erupts when a patron recounts a scandal from the forum, or when a joke is made at the expense of a rival senator. The sound is loud, sharp, almost startling in the stillness, yet it quickly melts into the steam like everything else. Even joy in this place feels muted, softened, absorbed by the marble walls. The attendant carries on, moving as if within a dream, the sound of water splashing, the glow of lamps reflected in pools, the rhythm of luxury surrounding them like a constant tide. Outside the caldarium, in the cooler rooms, the contrast is just as sharp. There, young noblemen test their strength in exercise or receive massages with scented oils. Old men sit in corners, speaking quietly of politics or philosophy. Women, in separate spaces, recline with equal splendor, attended by handmaids who adjust their hair, their jewelry, their garments. The baths are not only a place of cleansing, but of spectacle, a stage upon which the wealth of Rome is performed, slowly, gracefully, endlessly. The attendant, though invisible, is the quiet thread binding it all together. Without their movements, the luxury falters. Without their hands, the oils do not flow. The basins remain empty. The cushions remain unturned, and yet they are never truly seen. The wealthy pass them as one passes a column or a lamp, noticed only when they are absent. This silent truth lingers like a shadow in the warm air, a reminder that the grandeur of Rome rests upon countless hands that will never be remembered. And so the day drifts on, the wealthy floating through rituals of comfort, the attendant circling them like the slow orbit of a moon around the earth. Each action is small, but together they form a world. Steam rises, voices echo, light flickers, and all of it feels eternal, as if the baths themselves will never end. The marble remembers every footstep, the water every ripple, the air every whisper. Time stretches thin in this place, until the line between one day and the next dissolves, leaving only the endless hum of luxury, labor, and silence. And now, as the baths fall silent once more, imagine yourself standing in the empty caldarium. The steam lingers faintly in the air, a soft veil of warmth over polished marble. The echoes of voices, long faded, drift gently around you. You can almost hear the laughter of children, the soft clink of oil flasks, the careful steps of attendants moving through the vapor. The world of Marcus and the wealthy patrons is gone, dissolved into history. Yet, in some way, it remains traced in stone, whispered in ruins, and carried in the rhythm of everyday life that continues to this day. The pulse of human life, of labor and leisure, of ritual and care, beats softly through time. Imagine your own breath mingling with the steam, slow and even. You feel the warmth of history surrounding you, a quiet presence, gentle and unobtrusive. You are both observer and participant, drifting alongside the countless lives that have passed through these walls. Each moment, each gesture is a story folded into the calm rhythm of the world. And as your eyelids grow heavy, consider this. The empire may rise and fall, emperors may come and go. The wealthy may feast and laugh, but the quiet, steady hands that uphold life, the attendants who guide the rhythm, the daily rituals that shape human existence. These are the threads that truly endure. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, let yourself move with the rhythm of their days. Imagine the warmth of the caldarium, the gentle hiss of water, the faint glow of lamps reflected on marble. Let the stories of Marcus, of the baths, of lives, both humble and grand, lull you into rest. And perhaps, when you wake tomorrow, you will carry a little of this calm with you, a soft reminder that history is not only the triumphs of the mighty, but also the quiet, enduring presence of everyday life. Sleep now, surrounded by the soft whispers of the past, and maybe, just maybe, ask yourself, if you had been an attendant here, what small rhythm of life would you have carried through the ages?